How's it going? Today I've got a deck that I've been working on in preparation for set number 7. Now, while the meta is still completely in flux, I mean, the set's not even out yet, I do like to focus my time more on theme decks, but I think this set in particular, especially with the dual inks, is going to give these theme decks some real good legs to stand on, or should I say sea legs? Because today we're going to be talking about pirate, location, actions. It is emerald, steel, and let's take a look at what it looks like going into set number 7, at least how I've built this deck. Now, emerald steel for set 7 got not only some great new pirate cards to add into the deck, but they also got a brand new dual ink card that's going to make playing those actions even easier and set up what could be an infinite combo if you get all the cards in place. As you can see on screen, this is what the deck looks like in its current form. The deck list will be listed below in the video description, so go check it out, give it a like over on Dreamborn. Now, if you missed the live stream that I did with Lorgains, where we were previewing some set 7 decks, this is the second deck that I played in that video, and since that time we've actually changed it around quite a bit. You'll see our actions are completely different. We changed our locations a little bit, and I actually missed one of the most vital pieces for this deck. So now let's hop into kind of my explanation for why we're playing with each of these cards and what they all do. If you want to just hear the lines that I play when I play this, there'll be a timestamp for that down at the bottom as well. You can skip ahead, I don't mind. But now let's hop over to Dreamborn so we can take a look at each of the cards individually. So first up, we actually have the new Pete, Pirate Scoundrel. He is a 1-cost card, inkable, and he has an ability whenever you play an action that isn't a song, which all of our actions are not songs, you can banish a chosen item. I think this card's going to be really, really good. A lot of people are experimenting with a lot of item-heavy decks. Now, if you don't see red-blue or blue-silver in your meta, you might switch this out for like a Captain Hook, just to have a little bit more challenging potential. But if you see those items in your local play, I would recommend using this Pete, because every single time you play one of those actions, you get to banish one of their items. Next up, this is actually the card that I missed when I originally built this deck. It's going to be the 2-cost uninkable Donald Duck Lively Pirate, a new card for set 7. And anytime that he is challenged, we can return an action card that isn't a song from our discard to our hand, so we can pull back like an improvise to get another draw, or if we need another fire of the cannons to do damage, we can pull those back with this Donald, and he quests for 2. So unless the opponent is able to deal with them in some other way, we should be able to recycle some of our actions from the discard. All right, and now one of the stars of the deck, it's going to be Grunge, Cannon Expert. Whenever this character quests, you may pay 1 less ink for the next action you play this turn, and you can do it multiple times. So if we can ready this card, he can quest again, and we can pay 1 less, leading to the just cascading actions that you can play for very, very cheap. If we get him at a location, or if we can boost his lore and quest with him multiple times in a single turn, we can do very quick lore swings and allow us to either draw a bunch of cards, close out games, or just clear a board because we have so many actions interacting with our opponent's field. Also in the 2-cost slot, we do have Mr. Smee. He's just a great early game character. We have a lot of captains in this deck. Our 3 drops in particular are both captains, so he shouldn't be taking that 1 extra damage. And he's a nice strong body, good quester, great to get out on that turn 2. All right, now here's the dual ink card that we're playing in the deck. It is Mr. Smee, Efficient Captain, also a 3/3, and has the ability whenever you play an action that isn't a song, you may ready chosen pirate character. This comboed with Grunge allows them to just repeat over and over and over again as long as you have those actions in your hand. So there's going to be times where we kind of just hoard up a bunch of actions, and then just in one fell swoop, maybe we do the quest play actions like 2-3 times over and over again, leading to just a super fun play style that you get to use. Now, if we don't have Grunge on the field, or if we're looking to close out a game and we have a ready John Silver, this card is insane. Getting to just quest with him twice in a turn is crazy. We play a lot of cheap locations at the back end of the deck, so if we can get out even just 2 or 3 of them, questing for 3/4 with John Silver twice, becoming 6 or 8, really feels like the Sapphire Steel Tamatoa plays with Lucky Dime, where you're just able to get these huge lore spikes out of nowhere. Now, we do need ways to draw cards, and we've re-included Daisy Duck Pirate Captain back into the deck. She has the ability Distant Shores. Whenever one of your pirate characters quests while at a location, you can draw a card. So if you can get Grunge at a location, you've got your Mr. Smee on the field, and you get Daisy on the field. you can keep playing those actions for cheap, questing with Grunge, playing more actions every time Grunge quests. If he's at a location, he's going to be drawing a card with Daisy, hopefully refilling your hand with more actions, and then you kind of just go off. And if you do it enough times, hopefully you get enough cards in your hand to set you up for a late game or game ending play. Now, the other card that we've added into this deck that we didn't have in before is going to be Donald Duck Buccaneer. This Donald, if he is able to challenge and banish a character, he's going to give all of our other characters +1 lore for the turn. Since he is a pirate, we could also choose to ready him after an action. So if we have that Mr. Smee on the field and we ready this Donald and he takes out 2 characters, then our characters are actually going to get +2 lore on their turn, and that's for all the characters that we have in play. And he does have Captain as well, so he protects the 2-drop Mr. Smee as well. This is just a great card to really make your opponent think long and hard about exerting their stuff, because if you're able to take things out with this Donald, you're going to quest for quite a lot on your turn. So with this being a songless action deck, we have a lot of low cost actions like this Improvise that we can play, hopefully even for free if we're able to quest with the Grunge. Improvise, not only is it going to give a character +1 strength for our turn, but we also draw a card and it replaces itself. You can give that +1 strength to the Donald, making him a 4/4. You draw a card off of it, and then potentially he can take out even something stronger on his second attack of the turn. We run with 4 copies of Fire the Cannons. Playing this card for free, dealing 2 damage to any character that doesn't have a ward, is really strong, especially if we can do it multiple times in a game. We're also going to be running Baboom. Baboom, even though it is 2 cost, so it is a little bit worse than Fire the Cannons. If we can get our discount with Grunge, making it a 1 cost action, it's really good value and it is inkable. And then another inkable damage based action that we have in the deck is Smash. I haven't used this one in a while, but we threw it back in the deck. Deal 3 damage to a character, potentially playing it for just 2 ink, which is very strong. And then the last action in the deck, this is actually our flex spot, but currently I am testing it with Do It Again, the 3 cost uninkable emerald action that allows you to return an action card from your discard to your hand. It itself is also an action. So what you can do is you can actually get this out for 2 cost with Grunge and then pull one of your 1 cost actions, then resetting 2 times in a single interaction, because then we can quest with Grunge again, play the 1 cost for free. So I'm really excited to get some more testing done with this in particular. I've also tried with the set 1 Captain Hook that pulls back Fire the Cannons, but I think with this being an action in itself, I think it has a little bit more surprise potential, especially if you have a John Silver ready to quest on the board. You can do this, you can do a Fire the Cannons, all for very cheap, and you can quest with them 2-3 times and typically win the game that way. Now, for our locations, these locations not only are going to be boosting John Silver's resist and his quest power, but if our opponents don't take him out, they're going to be getting us passive lore, like this DeVille Manor, just a 1 cost card that we can slam down when we're ready to quest with John Silver, or it gives us another option for the early game. If our opponent only has a Daisy out on the field, or if they're ramping, it's just going to get us 2-3 lore by the time it gets taken out, and it's typically pretty good. Hidden Cove, while it doesn't give us passive lore per turn, it's going to boost our character's strength and their willpower so they can take out potentially higher targets. Also, you'll see all these locations just have 1 cost to move, so pretty inefficient to get characters here to trigger the Daisy effect. Now, with that being said, I am running with copies of Seven Dwarfs Mine. Although it does cost 2 to move a character here, it does have 6 willpower and it has a special ability of being able to deal a damage if I move a character here. We don't have any knights in the deck, so we don't take advantage of the 2 damage. Typically, I won't end up using the ability, but in a pinch, you can move a character, get an extra damage onto the field. You do pay an extra ink for it. So if you're not happy with that 2 cost to move and you really want to just take advantage of your characters getting to a location for Daisy, you can swap this out for just Nottingham. It is a 2 cost steel card, gets you 1 lore per turn, 6 willpower, just like Seven Dwarfs Mine. The only difference is it doesn't have a special ability. It only costs 1 to move a character there. And then the last location of the deck and the last card of the deck is the Galactic Council Chamber. This is one of my favorite sleeper cards from set number 6. Because John Silver is an alien, if you move him to this location, he basically gives your location bodyguard, so your opponents can't actually challenge into him, and the location's protecting him, giving him resist, allowing him also to quest for more. So a great combo to pair together. And even if that means just waiting out a couple turns before you're able to quest with John Silver, you're going to get that passive lore from the Galactic Council Chamber. This is a card that I really love to use in my Amber Steel locations deck, so we threw it in here as well. That does it for the overview of each individual card. Now let's move on to the opening hands. I'll explain what lines I'm typically looking for on the play, on the draw. So this deck on the play, 9 times out of 10, if you don't know what you're playing against, if you're going in blind, your safe bet is going to be to start with a DeVille Manor or a Hidden Cove. DeVille Manor is going to get you passive lore, while Hidden Cove is going to buff up your characters. It's also going to stick on the field and make your opponents answer it. And being that we don't have like a Diablo shift line, if we're not moving characters there until turn 4, turn 5, our opponents might just ignore it. The other option to go ahead and open with obviously is your 1-cost character, the Pete. If you get this on the board, if your opponent's playing with items, you can shut them down as early as turn number 2, which is really good. Unfortunately, it doesn't stop the turn 1 item into Bell like shift discard combo, which is another reason why I kind of just value the location instead. It typically buys you 1 to 2 turns of staying on the field, making your opponent not quest, usually not sing, because singing doesn't usually affect locations unless they play Along Came Zeus. And then when we get to actually turn number 2, that's where it gets a little interesting. I would try to keep as many actions in your deck as possible. You ideally want to hit them on your draws so that you can keep cycling. But if you get one early and you have this Donald Duck in your hand nice and early, you can instead play that Donald Duck, know that you're going to play the action, and probably quest with Donald on that same turn, and then you can pull that action back if he gets taken out in retaliation. Another great card to have on the play would be Mr. Smee. Mr. Smee just puts some early game pressure on the board, and turn 3 we're looking for Mr. Smee, the captain, or John Silver. Both of these are going to prevent our smaller Smee from taking damage and then really set up what we want to do moving forward. If we were able to get John Silver onto the field, that's where hopefully we have, instead of actions, we have locations. So you can plop down 2 or 3 of them really quick, get like 4 lore with that John Silver. Maybe you have an cheap action in your hand as well, so you can ready John Silver, quest them again. And then after that, you pretty much just need to bank on getting your Daisy Duck onto the field on turn 4. And then on 5, if you don't already have a character at a location, moving a character to a location, and then you just start questing, drawing those cards, and then ideally you get to reset your characters with Smee. They get to quest again at that location, and then you keep going until you run out of ink. Or you can wait for like a Grunge to show up in your hand. Once he's ready to quest, you can start doing that combo even longer because you're drawing cards, you're making your 1-cost actions nice and cheap, and you kind of get into this like cycling play style, which is really fun. Now, there is one thing I don't like with this deck. This is where you might want to play more 1-drop characters than I have listed here, and it's very hard early game to get characters at locations on curve. By the time you get to turn 4 and you play that Daisy Duck, if you've played your location on 1, a character on 2, John Silver or Smee on 3, you just don't have that ink to be able to move that character to the location. So you're not drawing cards until turn 5. And that seems just to be a little bit too slow in the playtest that I've done. By that time, Red Blue typically will be up to 7 ink, can be prep. They could big Sisu to wipe out your smaller characters, or they have Maui Shark on the board, or they have the Rush Maui taking out your location. So that's what we're going to be working on for the next 1 to 2 weeks while we're still in our preseason testing, trying to figure out how to really solve that. Turn 4, I want to play Daisy Duck, and I want to quest with at least 1 character at a location. Maybe that's running Transport Pod and really searching for that on my turn 1. We'll figure it out, and we will post the updated deck list once we start live streaming with this deck. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this deck concept, leave a like on the video. Make sure you sub so you don't miss when we go live with it. All right, and then as a reminder, a day after the set comes out, March 8th, we're going to be running a case opening stream where we play Pack Rush. Anybody with our game code can join, play a game of Pack Rush as long as they have 2 packs. So be sure not to miss it. If you're opening a bunch of cards on opening day, maybe save 2 packs so you can join the stream and have a little fun. I can't wait to actually open these cards when the set releases, and I'm really excited to share that experience with you guys. Well, that's it for the video. I will catch you guys in the next one, and let me know in the comments what kind of decks you guys are cooking up. See ya.